Hello folks and welcome, MX-23 Beta 2. So let me first get over the preliminaries, then I'm going to talk about what's new in Beta 2, and then for the remainder of the video I'm going to treat this like you're a brand new user and giving you some tips and tricks. I have lots of them for you. So welcome folks, 1920 by 1080 is what I'm filming in today. Video will be more than 2 minutes. All my videos have timelines and chapters. You know, Linux is used worldwide, and we have a lot of folks out there that speak multiple languages, and English is my second language. And sometimes I describe words a little differently. And I also tried to take my time and explain things a little bit slower with less technical jargon on most of my videos on my YouTube site. I've been doing videos for quite a while. Been around Linux for over 25 years, been around computers for over 30, and I'll leave it at that. But let me first get this out of the way. MX-23. Based off of Debian 12 Bookworm. Supported until June of 2028. This is the Xfce desktop. Let me talk about the information that MX has on their website regarding Beta 2. 6.1 kernel, based on Debian 12 Bookworm. sysvin-it and systemd remain as options. Beta 1 and 2, swap files and swap partitions. So the desktop versions, there are 3 if you're not familiar with MX. Xfce is 4.18. Fluxbox is 1.3.7 and the KDE/Plasma is 5.27. Many apps and bug fixes updated. MX Snapshot was looked at. The GUFW firewall, or what they call as UFW firewall, is on by default. So if you are going to be doing some file sharing, don't forget to look into some rules. Alright, so I'm going to click quick system information here. You can also go to the MX menu and click the same, and I'm going to talk about this first. Again, I'm filming in 1920 by 1080. Everything's native. Alright, MX-23 Beta 2 is out for release, and you can go test drive it. It's based off of Debian 12 Bookworm. You can see my kernel information here as of today's date, July 6th. This is the Xfce desktop. You can see my hardware is AMD Ryzen 5 is what I'm using today, and my graphics card for today is Radeon RX 550, a 4 gig video card. Alright, I'm going to use Alt and F4 and go to the welcome screen. Frequently asked questions, user manual, wiki, tools, tweak, forums. MX has lots of videos for you. There are also a lot of folks out there that do videos like myself to help you out with your desktops. Contribute to their cause. Popular apps you can click on to download, and if you're a brand new user, I would recommend the tour. Now from here on, I'm going to treat the video as this is for a new user and give you lots of tips and tricks. First one I'm going to talk about is at the end of the video, I'm going to use this create URL link to create a poor man's web-based icon in about 7 seconds. So the first I'm going to talk about is desktop settings. So we have some different maybe descriptions of things out there, backgrounds, wallpaper, thing you're looking at. This is the default ones. You can certainly bring in your own digital photos and of your kids, pets, and friends. You can also download wallpaper or backgrounds off the internet. Place in whatever folder you want and right click on those things and set it as wallpaper. A couple of different ways of viewing that. MX has always provided lots of tools for you to, well, decorate your desktop, and also lots of software to help you out with a lot of things. Alright, most of the stuff is click and read. Want these icons bigger? Make them bigger. You want some extra icons on your desktop, like your home folder maybe, file system or trash can? You can certainly do that. I just wanted to point out that you've got a perfectly good file manager sitting here at all times, whether the panel bar is in this direction or the other direction. You click that, here's your trash, here's your file system, here's your home folder. Our user for today is Beta 2. I'll talk more about this file manager. It's actually very zippy, very fast. I'm going to turn those off. I don't really need those icons, but I wanted to point this out. Now, consequently, I do have a separate video on Debian 12 Bookworm Xfce desktop already posted on my YouTube site if you'd like to view that also. And the reason I'm making mention of that is because in that particular version of Debian 12 Bookworm, the double click is turned on by default for the file manager Thunar. And I also disabled single click to activate items on my desktop. I don't particularly care for that behavior. I did the same thing in the file manager here in MX. All right, just wanted to point out, I turned those off, but these are on by default. MX puts these on by default, and I understand a lot of people like that feature. I particularly do not. Okay, just wanted to point that out, and I'm now going to continue. We have a couple of icons on the desktop, a user manual, frequently asked questions, and Conky. We have the panel bar starting with this icon. It not only does log out, but it also does shutdown, restart, and suspend and switch user. Same icon can also be found in your MX menu right here in the corner. Same icon. You can also right click on your desktop, hit applications, and that same icon is found at the bottom of this tree. You can also make this icon. I'm going to show you how to do this in less than 7 seconds. Right click on your desktop, create launcher, type in 3 little letters, LOG. Pick the second item and hit the create button twice. I think that was about 7 seconds. Put that anywhere on your desktop. Multifunction key. I'll stick it over here by Conky and leave it at that. Let's move along. So we have the time thing, and when you click it, you open up the orange calendar. Today's date is July 6th, 2023. If you're watching this video, more than likely MX-23 has not been officially released. So I'm going to open up Firefox next because I'm going to point to their website. I have a couple of more tips for you here. Right underneath what looks to be like a blue line, I'm going to double click. And I'm going to move my mouse pointer over here and double click. This is the same thing as doing this guy right here, maximize. And restore down. All right, I'm going to resize text on the fly. It's currently at 130%, and what I'm going to do is make this 30% in less than a couple of microseconds. And then I'm going to blow this back up to 500%, and then go in between. Most folks probably would like this size, like 130. Now, how am I achieving this? First of all, I'm going to make mention your mouse pointer has to be underneath this line if you're using bookmarks. Otherwise, this feature does not work. With your mouse pointer below this line, hold down your control key on your keyboard. And if you're using a computer mouse with a scroll wheel on it, scroll forward to make it bigger, scroll backwards to make it smaller. The smallest is 30%. It's not readable, I understand. But however, some folks may like the 140%. I'll make this full screen now. MX-23 Beta 2 was available on June 16th. You can download that and play with it. Beta 1 was available in May. What's the official release? Home folder, download, is 21.3, not to be confused with MX-23. Okay? You notice this, it's holding at 140%, and I can resize this on the fly. Try not to make you sick, but anyways, I'm now at 150%. So the Xfce is their flagship. Comes in 3 flavors, 64-bit, 32-bit, and the 64-bit Advanced Hardware Support, or AHS. There's also KDE, and 2 versions of Fluxbox. 2 versions of Fluxbox 64 and 32. All right. If you need to read more about the information regarding the beta, you can click that line and get all the goodies. Okay, I highlighted some things for you. Okay, so Xfce, Plasma, Fluxbox, Debian 12 Bookworm, versions, bug fixes. This won't look like this on your website. I pre-highlighted this earlier. And again, GovW firewall, or UFW, however you want to call it. All right, Alt and F4 to close, and I'm going to continue. All right, what I noticed in Thunar, the file manager, it's very zippy, very fast. So again, I do have a separate video on the Debian 12 Bookworm Xfce desktop if you'd like to view it. And in that particular Thunar file manager, that icon is a hammer. I kind of like that one. So the Xfce desktop environment is very popular with a lot of Linux distros or distributions. You will find that this icon may be different on some of them. But in either case, all the settings that I'm going to be showing you here today, these shortcuts behave the same way. So let's talk about behavior of this file manager, not yours. MX has this set for single click. Debian, on the other hand, has that set for double click, which is my preferred also on all file managers. But I wanted to make mention of the fact I understand why some people like single click. I particularly do not. All right, so I have double click turned on. So some of the stuff you're about to see, keep that in mind. If it's not working for you, you may want to try this. I'm going to hit close. I'm going to resize icons in a couple of microseconds from tiny to large for you first, showing it my way. Then I'll show you the system way, and then I'll show you the trick of what I'm using. First of all, these icons are this small for the smallest, and this is the largest. Let me make this a little bit bigger, so for something for you to see, I'll just make an image here. This is coming from my pictures folder. This is the same icon. Hit the space bar just to prove that to you. Okay? So let me talk about the conventional way of resizing icons first. You go to the view menu, you click zoom in, click zoom out, and click normal size. You can also hold down your control key, and hit plus, plus, plus to make it bigger, bigger, bigger. Or hold down the control key and hit minus, 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 or negative, negative, negative to make it smaller, smaller, smaller. Just a little humor there, folks. Or hold down the control key and hit 0, not O, 0, to make it normal size. So let's do some of those. Control 0. Now I'm going to use holding down the control key and hitting plus repeatedly. Plus, 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 while holding that control key down. And that's the maximum. Still holding the control key, minus, 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 minus. You can probably hear me pounding on the keyboard. So I can go from the tiniest to the largest in a couple of microseconds. And you can see how fast it responds. So that's one thing I noticed about MX-23. Now, how am I achieving this? Let me show you my trick. So I'm substituting the plus, the negative, and the 0. I'm still using the control key. So I'm holding down the control key while scrolling forward on my USB-based computer mouse, scroll wheel, and scrolling backwards. Scrolling forward, scrolling backwards, and in between. That's how I'm doing that. The same thing I did in the the web browser. Scrolling backwards, scrolling forward. So now you have two ways of resizing stuff. Alt and F4. All right, I am going to click this once and hit the space bar. If I hit the space bar again, it goes into a play menu and pause. Okay, you can also manually do this. What's another way of closing this box? Alt and F4. Perfectly good trash can, file system, home folder. Really don't need any of those extra icons on the desktop. You also have devices. What's a device? Well, file system, internal backup drives, possibly external backup drives, USB stick or thumb drives are devices. All right, different descriptions of things maybe. Alt and F4 to close. So that was Thunar, the file manager. It's a little bit zippier in my book than the previous version, but that may be just me. Simple screen recorder, I'm going to skip over, and that's what I'm using to record. Volume thing, network thing, paperclip thing, the icon for simple screen recorder. If this icon is green, that means you got some goodies that you need to probably think about installing, like updates. But if your box is gray or black, I'm going to click that and it opens up Synaptic Package Manager. So let me show you how many packages are available and where this stuff is coming from. 64,907 packages are listed here. 2,058 are installed. It takes one or more packages to install a piece of software, a program, or an application. Where's the stuff coming from? We call it repos or repositories. And I'm going to right click on that bar and resize it this way. Coming from Debian Bookworm, and the one for MX is also named as Bookworm. MX-23 Beta 2 is what this is. Cancel. Installing software is pretty simple. You click, mark it for installation. If it requires other packages, in other words, in addition to the one you just clicked, it'll give you a post-it note. And then you can mark the appropriate goodies to install that. I'm going to hit cancel. The icon legends are also different from some distributions. They're not always the same colors for Synaptic Package Manager, as an FYI. Search feature, different categories. Not everything has screenshots. A lot of things do though. 64,907. I'm sure you can find a thing or two in here. Alt and F4 to close. There's also this way to install that software, and also terminal. I'll talk about MX Package Installer a little bit later. Bluetooth thing, unmounter, battery information. Now you can see what kind of keyboard and mouse I'm using. They're both Logitech products. Workspace 1 and 2, and now I'm going to click the menu. If you're not familiar with an Xfce desktop, you normally can resize it by grabbing a hold of the edges. If you want to do it all at once, grab a hold of the corner. It turns into that kind of a symbol, and you can resize this on the fly while still holding your computer mouse, okay, to whatever size you want. All right, right-clicking on the actual MX icon and hitting properties, you can resize those icons. I'll make these larger. This will probably be too big. I'm not even going to mess with the very large. I'm just going to give you this example. This is way too big. But more importantly, you can resize icons on the fly. Well, not on the fly. You have to just click these. You can also go to very small and mix these. This is probably silly, but now these are small and these are big. All right, let me just go with small and small. I think that's probably plenty big. If you don't mind, I'm going to make this taller because I'm going to be clicking through the menus in a second. So the top line says Beta 2. That's the name of my user for today. It's just a made-up name. Settings Manager, I'll be clicking on that after I go through the menu. Lock screen, switch user, multifunction, logout / shutdown restart. Would you like to have a dedicated shutdown key with a timer on it, or even a restart? Let me show you how to make one of those in a couple seconds. Right click on that icon, hit properties, click on the command box, and activate shutdown and restart as examples. Now if I click that red icon, I can walk away from the computer without clicking anything. In less than 60 seconds it shuts down. I can also override it by clicking that, or I can hit cancel. Same thing goes with the restart, which is right next to it. It starts counting down from 60 seconds. I'm going to hit cancel and continue. You got a nice search feature in here, and then let me start on the menu. Favorites, run program, Conky toggle. This is Conky. So if you change the screen resolution, sometimes this will be half on the edge. I would just suggest turning it off, which turns that off, and then toggle it back on. It normally will move that from the edge over to where it's a viewable area if you decided to change the screen resolution, for instance. LibreOffice Start Center, again, LibreOffice is installed on this system. MX Tools I'll come back to. MX Package Installer I will open. Put in my password, and this is a favorite with a lot of users. Popular apps, you can click, like if you're looking for a different browser, say you want Brave and maybe Google Chrome also, hit the install key. It's that simple. So lots of things you can scroll for. You can also do keyword searches. If it doesn't find it in popular, you may want to click enable the repos. You can also take a look at the Flatpak software in Flatpaks. You will get a little warning box when you click that, by the way. That's fairly normal. All right, where did I leave off? MX package installer. Another shortcut to user manual, you've got another one on your desktop. Task manager, terminal, and quick system information. You see that command that says INXI on it? I used to use that quite a bit on my previous channel, but my option used to be a big FXZ on it. They're using the XXXRZA. That's okay, it's just system information. You can also open up terminal and get system information there using INXI or even NeoFetch for that matter. Lots of different ways. Also, hard info is installed on this Beta 2. It goes by System Profiler and Benchmark. You may see that when I scroll through the menus. So that's favorites. You can make anything a favorite. So if you're, okay, that's accessories. I'll stop at screenshot for a second for you folks that like to play. I recommend screenshots. There's 3 versions, entire screen, active window, or region. I do recommend screenshot if you're going to play. Okay, so development only has 2 icons. Games, if you wanted to make something a favorite, right click, add to favorites. Add to desktop, add to panel. Got lots of options. Graphics, internet, multimedia. I added simple screen. Strawberry is the default music player, by the way. MX tools I'll cover later. And Office. So LibreOffice comes installed. You also have some extra goodies like ebooks, Orange Clock Calendar, PDF Arranger, and QPDF View. Let me open up LibreOffice Writer. Just wanted to let you see the version of it. 7.4.5.1, and it does save this if you're not too familiar with this Office suite, also in Microsoft formats. Close and close. I could have used Alt and F4, but let me continue. So that was Office. Settings, I will probably click that box to give you more details on that, but you can certainly take a look at the shortcuts in here. System, Born Again Shell is what Bash stands for. You can always open up terminal, type in MAN space bash and get the full definition of it. Conky toggle, remember you have a shortcut of it in your favorites menu. You also have gparted if you wanted to, well, create some partitions or delete partitions on non-bootable drives. HTOP process viewer, also top is already installed in your terminal. Type in TOP. Lucky Backup uses rsync. Also, I have multiple videos on my YouTube site using rsync and grsync, and also using scripts with rsync. MX package updater, you can see it's green here. That's normally what that would look like if you have updates. Another shortcut to Synaptic. This is hard info, system profiler and benchmark for you point and click folks. They like to see system information, and it does have benchmark tools also. Timeshift does not come activated. You have to click on it. Timeshift is not a backup utility. It's a system restore utility. It does not back up your system files under normal conditions. But it does come in handy in case you can't log into your system. But you need to activate it, and it does use rsync by default. All right, just wanted to, it's really simple. Once it's activated and running, you'll close the box and probably forget about it until the day you can't log in, and that's when Timeshift will come in handy for you. You'll find that on your bootable medium, USB stick and or DVD. And that doesn't require a password when you activate it in that medium, and it'll scan your hard drive for restore points. Continuing on. All right, let me click on this settings manager now. Talk about only a couple of things. I can't click on everything because I'm already up to 24 minutes. I will talk about this though, the styles. Most of these are GDK3 and 2s. You can also take a look at the icon sets. Again, if you like a dark theme, you may want to check this one out. But you can also download other icon sets. I'm going to give you one website. If you are a subscriber of mine, you can go to the About section, look down below, there'll be a ton of links. One of them is to gnome-look.org. It's a nonprofit website. They have, I believe, over 1,000 icon themes there, and themes in general. And then over 700 of these mouse pointers or cursors. Continuing on, fonts, 10.5, you want that bigger, click the plus or drag. Just be conservative. Things look weird when you really go crazy. Don't forget the custom DPI or dots per inch. For you folks that like to play, one more time, screenshots is what I recommend. Settings, scaling, be careful with that one. Lots of options. Keep in mind the file manager behavior was set to single click earlier. I changed it to double click, my preferred behavior on all file managers. Again, that's just my settings. MX tools I will open. So the snapshot tool has been revamped, and if you are going to use it, just give it some time to make a snapshot. For you folks that like dual boots and multi boots, you may want to look at the boot options. You want to increase the boot up time or the menu time when the boot menu is available. You can also go investigate what's the first device to boot into through this menu. Other than that, I'm going to close that and continue. All right, there's lots of tools in here. For you folks that want to use an NVIDIA graphics card and you want the driver instead of the open source, you may want to try that one out. For you folks that like to download a lot of music player, video players, you want to maybe look at the codec installer. All right, lots of tools. For you brand new folks, you may want to take a look at the tour. I'll talk about tweaks next. MX tools, lots of tools for you folks. So for tweaks, if you want this panel or bar down at the bottom, flip that and apply. It's that fast. On my screen is longer this way than this way. I would probably prefer that if I were to keep the install. But since I'm using this as a beta copy, I'll return this back to the default. Some of you folks may prefer this, and some other folks may prefer the other thing. We're all different. Themes, compositor, display, again filming in 1920 by 1080, config options, other. A lot of these things are mostly point and click. I'll only open up the window manager, the center pane here, just to point out that you can move these buttons around rather easily. Grab a hold of it, click and drag and drop. Now it's over here. If I wanted to squeeze it in between these icons, you can certainly do weird things like this. Now the close button is here instead of here. I'm going to continue on. This is MX tweaks. Lots of little things you can do there. There are lots of icons in here, folks. A lot of times, you know, some of you subscribers are probably wondering why I'm not using a colorful icon today. It's just because of the time constraint. These are installed in USR share icons. You can also install mouse pointers or cursors and dot icons in your local folder. Other than that, I'm going to continue. Gulf firewall is turned on. Don't forget about those rules in case you want to file share. Other than that, I'm going to close. And I think I already covered adding these buttons and this button, so let's talk about creating a what I call the poor man's web based icon in a couple seconds. I'm going to do one for Amazon.com. Create URL link. I'm just going to use the letter A and skip over comments and go directly to URL, www, Universal Resource Locator. Make sure it's a valid address. Web address, www.amazon.com. Some of you folks shop there, some of you maybe not so much. You can leave the generic icon if you like. You can click that and pick maybe some of the goofy icons. They're just icons. Don't expect to find all of these kind of icons for the website yet you're creating these icons for. But this one happens to be here. So that's why I'm using it as a demo. This still goes to Amazon no matter what. I'm currently at 120. Hopefully you remember my little trick. Hold down that control key, scroll backwards on your computer mouse to resize that to 30%. You're probably going to be wanting that a little bit past 100. So what's good for you? 140? Let go of that control key. Now you can scroll in the new resized 140%. I think you'll probably find that as a useful tool. Want that bigger? There's 180% for you. All I'm doing is pressing down on that control key while scrolling up and scrolling back. And then when I get it to the size that I want, 150 looks good, I let go of that control key and scroll normally. Alt and F4, right click, that was what I used. for that, creating that icon. Create folder, create text files, open up terminal, open up your file manager Thunar in root mode. You will have to put in your password. And let me just drop down to the application side and just show you the last item in here is logout. Thank you for watching, folks.